Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Teen Wolf on TNT.
Did you know that Teen Wolf was made possible because Meredith Baxter Birney got pregnant? It's true. Michael J. Fox was at the height of his popularity on Family Ties, but he had very little time for movies. And then Meredith Baxter Birney, who played his mom on the sitcom, she took a month off for maternity leave, and they instantly went into production on this movie. And it was directed by Rod Daniel, whose background was sitcom director, and he had exactly 25 days to get the movie shot and get Michael J. Fox back to the Family Ties set. So everybody read the script one time and pitched in. They never even rehearsed the thing. I don't think it shows, though, do you? I don't want to nitpick this movie, but had these people ever been to a basketball game before they filmed the basketball sequence? None of those guys can even dribble the ball. They can't even bounce the ball realistically. What did they do? Take a bunch of Broadway chorus dancers and give them a 3-day course in basketball? And one of the main ideas seems to be that Michael J. Fox is so small that he keeps getting slammed to the floor by the bigger, more athletic players on the other team. Now, did anybody mention to Rod Daniel that no matter how small you are in a basketball game, you cannot constantly get slammed to the floor and clothesline. Not even Dennis Rodman can get away with constantly slamming people to the floor. Anyhow, I don't want to give away any of the plot points here, but it does have a few nice twists, and I will do those drive-in totals for you. We have motor vehicle roof surfing, 2 werewolf transformations, the old Jell-O down the girl's blouse trick, party dress ripping, beer can munching, werewolf breakdancing, wolf bowling, 1 fist fight, 3 cheesy basketball sequences. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Okay, back to the movie. Meredith Baxter Birney. I like to say that name, Meredith Baxter Birney. Remember when she used to be on those late-night infomercials with her husband, David Birney, talking about how they keep their perfect marriage perfect all the time? Yep. See, you shouldn't say stuff like that, especially on TV. You're just asking God to zap you, you know? Hey, Joe Bob Briggs here. If you have a question for me, or you want to gripe about something, or if you have any suggestions about how I can pick up girls who are really easy, then you got 2 choices. You can send a letter to Monstervision, 1010 Techwood Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318, or you can visit my website mailbox at tnt.turner.com/monstervision, and sometimes we even read these letters on the air, and then the next week after that, everybody at your office treats you like a freak, because let's face it, how many people would do this and still have any self-respect the next day, huh?
Don't miss Monstervision, hosted by Joe Bob Briggs, every Saturday night on TNT. Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Teen Wolf on TNT.
Well, while Michael J. Fox and Susan Ursity root around in the closet, this might be a good time for Joe Bob's Advice to the Hopeless, our weekly visit with our demented viewers. And to help us out is the original Monstervision party girl, the lovely Reno. Did you ever have somebody throw Jell-O down your blouse at a party, Reno?
Did I miss something?
You're not watching the movie. It's a game. You draw names. One person puts Jell-O in a weird place. The other person has to go find it and eat it.
No. What kind of parties are these?
They're parties where you would be very popular if you played the Jell-O game.
Well, no. Not if someone put Jell-O anywhere near my body.
Do you drink vodka or gin?
Are we having the same conversation here?
Just 3 vodka tonics, and you would love Jell-O against your bodice.
Why do I always feel as if right before I came out here something happened and I'm the only person who doesn't know what it is?
Because you're not watching the movie. We're watching the movie. This is an 80s classic that we're watching tonight. Michael J. Fox is going through, you know how some kids go through puberty? Michael J. Fox goes through lycanthropy.
Well, maybe we should go through a letter, okay?
Okay, by all means. That's what we're here for. That's why you came out.
I have this letter, but before I give this one to you, I want you to read this little short letter here.
Joe Bob, you talk too much. Lay off the little people. An annoyed viewer, Maya at AOL.com. Maya, you must have misunderstood me. I love midgets. What are you giving me this for?
Oh, all right, all right. Wait, I have one more here. This is, now you'll like this one. This is from the internet. A little short note.
Joe Bob, I'd like to ask you if you like Van Halen. And is that a real Texas accent? EVH5150ME at AOL.com. You think I could fake an accent like this? Yeah. As to Van Halen, this is interesting, I actually dig the music of Valerie Bertinelli and the acting of Eddie Van Halen.
Please. Oh.
Come on, where's the real letter?
Okay, all right, okay. This is the real letter. This is from Bob Church of Athens, Ohio, to Joe Bob.
Okay. Hello, Joe Bob. I've noticed a trend in sci-fi and horror films that I just don't understand. What's with the concept of the cryogenic prison? What's the point? Doing 20 years in prison these days means waking up in the same mind-bogglingly depressing cell over 7,000 times, and during those years, you watch your body get older, and you have to be real careful when you tie your shoes, if you know what I mean. So, flash forward to the future, and what do you get? They freeze dry you and wake you up when your sentence is over. You're just as young as you were with a good nap. Where's the punishment? Do they make you take out a bunch of library books first? Or maybe leave tuna fish in your refrigerator? I don't get it. Bob Church, Athens, Ohio. That's a good question, Bob, because I've noticed this too. I guess we'll just have to ask Walt Disney when they thaw the old geezer out, you know? But my question is, if it's such an all-fired great idea, why don't these cryogenic freezer lovers just immediately freeze dry themselves so that they can get thawed out whenever we've cured all the last diseases in the world? And do it while they're still young, so they'll be still young when they thaw them out. Why wait? See, your question, though, this was obviously inspired by that night we showed Project Shadow Chaser, so please don't make us watch that again, Bob, all right? What about you, Reno? Would you freeze yourself if you thought you could live forever someday?
No. I would rather come back as another life form.
Oh, no.
Definitely.
Oh, no. The New Age Reno emerges. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know you were a Hare Krishna Buddhist reincarnation Scientology green tea drinker.
What are you talking about?
Let's go back to the movie. Hey, if you think this movie is scary, actually, it's not that scary because we can't afford the really scary ones. But imagine what would happen if it was scary. Then you should check out our chat room where you can meet die-hard Monstervision fans wasting time and taking up space in extremely interesting ways. To find Joe Bob's Rec Room, go to tnt.turner.com/Monstervision and watch that fur fly.
Come meet all the Monstervision fans in our chat room at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Teen Wolf on TNT.
And that's the best part of the movie, where Michael J. Fox finds out he's a werewolf, especially the part where his dad appears at the door in full werewolf makeup, and then he tries to explain how werewolves are people just like everybody else. If the whole dang movie were that inventive as that sequence there, we'd have something here. Like when Dad demands to know what he's doing in the bathroom, and he says, "I'm changing." Unfortunately, it's one of the lamest transformation scenes in the history of transformations. You can't get away with that transformation scene. After we've seen The Beast Within and An American Werewolf in London and all the other great special effects transformations, they didn't even try on that scene. But one reason Michael J. Fox did this movie is that he was a great admirer of Michael Landon. And Michael Landon's first movie was I Was a Teenage Werewolf, which is a pretty decent flick, much better than this one, I have to say. And so they wanted to put a picture of Michael Landon in one of the scenes of this movie, but Michael refused permission. He wouldn't let him do that. He was very proud of I Was a Teenage Werewolf, and he didn't want its memory being demeaned by Teen Wolf. So can't say that I blame him. Okay, back to the flick. You know that when those hairs come out on his body, though, have you ever dated a girl with a mustache? And you keep looking at that mustache and you're wondering, why didn't she just shave that sucker off? Why do they leave them on there? Because you're thinking, man, she's got it now. What's it going to look like when she's 60? Let's not dwell on it, but because we're watching The Fly later.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Teen Wolf on TNT.
Once again, some excellent basketball playing. Those actors, they don't know how to bounce the ball. They can't dribble the basketball. Anyway, once Michael J. Fox becomes the werewolf basketball star, isn't it pretty dang obvious that the stunt double doesn't match Michael J. Fox at all? The movie is just cheesy. But when it came out in 1985, it was the biggest independent film in history in terms of the number of theaters where it opened. It premiered in late August of 1985 on 1,400 screens, mainly because they were cashing in on Back to the Future, which came out earlier that summer. But this movie was filmed before Back to the Future, but then they held it out of release until Back to the Future came out because they were being sneaky. All right, let's continue as Michael J. Fox becomes the BWOC, Big Wolf on Campus. Roll it. Somebody, I have to say this too, somebody watched Full Moon High before they made this movie. Because that was the high school werewolf movie that Larry Cohen made in 1982. And I mean, how many high school werewolf comedies can there be? I'm not saying that they stole the idea, really. It was probably a homage, right? It was a homage to Larry. You know how they say that, homage? It means, I am honoring you, Mr. Spielberg, by stealing you blind. It's an homage. I'm going to France with your money, sir, as an homage. Think you're funny? We pay money for funny. Actually, we don't have any money, so we pay you off with these Monstervision t-shirts. See this thing? They get cheesier looking every year. This is Joe Bob Briggs inviting you to play the Monstervision Caption Contest on the Monstervision website. The contest changes every week, and your chances of winning this week are just as good as last week. So go to tnt.turner.com/Monstervision and take a look at the week's photo. Of course, your chances are just as bad as last week, too.
Play the Monster Caption Contest and win a free t-shirt at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Teen Wolf on TNT.
There's 3 rules that I live by. Never get less than 12 hours sleep. Never play cards with a guy who's got the same first name as a city. And never go near a lady who's got a tattoo of a dagger on her body. Now, you stick with that. Everything else is cream cheese.
The coach always makes me laugh in this movie. That's Jay Tarsis as Coach Finstock. Jay Tarsis is a pretty famous TV writer and TV producer, and he's the father of Jamie Tarsis, the programming genius at ABC Network. But I love that this is the best speech in the movie, where he says, there's 3 rules that I live by. Never get less than 12 hours sleep, never play cards with a guy who's got the same first name as a city, and never go near a lady who's got a tattoo of a dagger on her body. You stick with that, everything else is cream cheese. I think he must have written that for himself, because it's the best line in the movie. And this movie, by the way, started a whole trend of Family Ties cast members starring in horror films, because this came out in 1985. The following year, Mark Price, better known as Skippy, starred in Trick or Treat. And in 1987, Scott Valentine, better known as Nick, starred in My Demon Lover. So we could have had a Family Ties horror triple feature. Wouldn't that have been fun? Okay, let's get back to Teen Wolf and the Wolfmobile. You know, they don't really follow any werewolf rules in this movie. He can get wolfy at any time. The full moon, if they have a full moon, if they don't have a full moon, he's like a guy. The theme of the movie seems to be that he's a guy who's in touch with his inner wolf. Or maybe it's just a lame screenplay and they don't have time to follow the rules. Joe Bob Briggs inviting you to visit the famous Monstervision website, where we got all kinds of stuff going on, especially during the show. And you know, that kind of ticks me off, though. How come people are playing around on the Monstervision website during the Monstervision show? If you're on the website, you're not watching the show, right? That's sick. That's a person who would rather talk about a zombie mutant than see the actual zombie mutant. That's a person who's not in touch with life. They've been at their computer keyboard too long. That's a mutant voyeur there. But ever since we started this caption contest on the website, people have just been going ape trying to win these Monstervision t-shirts. But I mean, look at this shirt. Whoa. I mean, well, not really. It's not that great of a shirt. I mean, how pitiful are you people anyway? We got a chat room on there. We got fan mail. We got a hate mail. Check it out. But sometime reasonable, check it out, like when I'm not on TV. And that address is tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. And don't make me explain this a second time, okay? Who's been wearing this shirt?
Visit the Monstervision website at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Teen Wolf on TNT.
Oh, just beat me over the head with a stick. Can we have one more cliche in this movie? The bad blonde bitch that he's in love with, the nice brunette girl he should be in love with. The moral of the movie, learn to be yourself and love yourself as you are. You know what other movie they stole from? The Nutty Professor, because that's ultimately the only message of that movie, too. Fortunately, it's redeemed a little bit by some of the performances in this movie, especially James Hampton as the father. He's great. He was in Sling Blade. Remember the warden in Sling Blade? Remember, he starred in the immortal Humps. He used to be a sidekick of Burt Reynolds. He was in all Burt Reynolds' early movies. Always a great actor. Jerry Levine as Styles. Jay Tarsis as the coach. Scott Paulin as the catty loser of a drama teacher. The movie's just bad enough to keep us going. But are you ready for the finale? Because, once again, I have to ask the question, why do all the basketball players in this movie constantly get decked? Tell me as we watch the concluding sequence of Teen Wolf. I really could have hurt that guy, Dad. When the time comes, son, you'll know when to use the wolf. You know, most people would write those lines. You know, sure, you can type those lines and then you go, nah, and you want it up, you throw it away, right? It's not that they write the lines, it's that they leave them in the movie. It's amazing.
And now, back to Joe Bob's Last Call on TNT.
Okay, Michael J. Fox wins the big game and Teen Wolf is history. It's hard to believe, but it did not end there, because in 1986 there was a Teen Wolf Saturday morning cartoon, and in 1987 they actually made a sequel. Michael J. Fox was too big to star in Teen Wolf 2 by then, so they got the great Jason Bateman. Let's not dwell on that, okay? Joe Bob Briggs, I'm still here. Well, it's just 1 week till Valentine's Day, the most romantic night of the year. Of course, I personally hate this holiday because it makes it impossible to date more than one woman at the same time. You know what I mean? You got to start getting ready for it because it's nitty-gritty time on February 14th. You cannot say, honey, I'm busy that night, because they figure it out at that point, you know. But fortunately, I can say that because I'll be right here with our special Eternal Love edition of Monstervision beginning, so I've got an excuse, right? Anyway, it begins with Excalibur, the great John Boorman movie about the love triangle between Arthur, Guinevere, and Lancelot. And what a great name for a ladies' man. Lancelot, you know? Today, if you had a name like that, you'd have to be a porno star. And then we follow that up with Swamp Thing, the tender story of a half-man, half-plant who is hopelessly in love with Adrienne Barbeau, especially after she gets her blouse wet in the swamp. It's Love Night on Monstervision. Right now, though, Jeff Goldblum gets into his telepod without checking for sanitation, and you know what happens in the David Cronenberg thriller, The Fly, which is our last call feature on Monstervision tonight. This is Cronenberg's masterpiece, in my opinion. It's even better than The Brood, which is my second favorite Cronenberg movie. And what we've got is the same story as the 1958 version with Vincent Price, only this time the Fly is fused at the genetic level with Jeff Goldblum, so we feel sorry for the Fly. And actually what happens is Jeff deserves it because he's trying to pick up Gina Davis in a kind of sleazy way by telepodding stuff all over his apartment, like nylons and baboons and stuff like that. And then she falls in love with him, and then he jumps into his telepod machine, and he comes out with some really nasty-looking fly hairs on his back, and then it gets really, really gross, like major league gross. These may be some of the greatest drive-in makeup effects in history. Anyhow, you'll see as we watch it. Let's look at those drive-in totals. 2 dead bodies, 1 dead baboon, 1 breast, 6 quarts blood, 7 quarts vomit, 8 quarts undecided, unsuccessful Norelco cure, 1 compound fracture, baboon zapping, excessive body hair, huge maggot birthing, ceiling walking, ear rolls, fingernails roll, teeth roll, hand rolls, foot rolls, gratuitous fly puke, 4 stars. Check it out, and we'll be back at the breaks to fill you in on just how David Cronenberg and Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis made one of the best horror flicks of the 80s, maybe one of the best of all time. Okay, roll it. And I don't really date more than 1 woman at a time, if you're listening. And you know who you are.